Some darkness doesn't come with thunder. It doesn't slam the door or scream in your face. It seeps like cold through old windows, like fog in a field that used to feel safe. That was what my depression felt like at 80. Quiet, patient, unyielding. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just stopped. Stopped opening the curtains, stopped answering the phone, stopped asking if he wanted sugar in his tea, even though I knew the answer by heart. He tried to pull me back in his way. Gently, patiently, with little things. He'd turn on the radio and start dancing in the kitchen. Badly, but hopefully. He'd slip notes into my book margins that said things like, "Still think you're the most beautiful woman I've ever kissed." And I'd smile, but only on the outside, because inside was nothing. Just that slow, heavy silence that makes even breathing feel like a job. I don't know when it started. Grief doesn't knock, it just settles in. And we'd lost so many. Friends, siblings, pieces of who we used to be. I began to feel like I was the shadow of a woman I couldn't remember being. And every night I thought, maybe this is how I go. Quietly, not with pain, but with fading. Until one morning, just before dawn, he crawled into bed beside me, wrapped both arms around my waist and whispered, "Stay, just stay long enough to see the sun. One more. With me." I didn't answer, but I didn't get up and leave either. We lay there in the dim light, his hand gently stroking my back, and I thought, what if I can't come back for myself, but I can come back for him? Dementia and depression don't need to rush. They move like fog, slow, steady, almost tender. At first it was small things. I couldn't recall a name. I forgot where I put the glasses again. I didn't answer the door when he knocked, because I didn't hear him come in. I didn't even know I was waiting. But it got worse. I'd wake up at odd hours, thinking it was the middle of the night. I'd sit by the window staring at nothing, waiting for something I couldn't name. He'd call out to me, his voice soft, almost unsure. "Are you okay, darling?" And I'd say, "I'm fine," but I wasn't. I didn't know what fine meant anymore. Then came the silence. The kitchen wasn't filled with the sounds of clinking dishes. The hum of the washing machine wasn't a rhythm anymore. The air in the house felt heavier, like it was holding its breath. And I couldn't move. There were mornings when I just didn't get out of bed. It wasn't that I couldn't, I just didn't know why I should. He'd bring me tea like he always had. But now it felt like a ritual, not a conversation. He didn't say much, but I could feel him beside me. His presence was the last thing I could still feel. When he kissed me, I kissed him back, mechanically. Not because I didn't love him, but because I couldn't remember how to want. I thought he was becoming just as tired as I was. I thought he might start to leave little by little, just like I was. But then, one morning, he slipped into bed beside me. He didn't ask me to get up. He didn't try to pull me from the fog. He just held me, tightly, like he was afraid I would vanish. And I wondered, if I couldn't fight for myself anymore, could I fight for him? Could I stay just long enough to see the morning light break through? I don't remember when the fog started lifting. It wasn't a single moment, not like the doctors would tell you. It wasn't the result of one conversation or one treatment or one prayer. It started when I noticed his voice again. It was always there, soft, reassuring, like the wind against the window pane. But I'd stopped hearing it. I'd stopped noticing the way he said my name like it was a song. He didn't ask me to fight. He didn't beg me to snap out of it. He didn't remind me of everything I had to live for. Instead, he just showed up. He kept making our morning tea. He still took care of the garden, even though I couldn't keep up anymore. He made me laugh. Not with grand gestures, but with the little things. Like how he tripped over the garden hose and muttered, "Just a few more years and I'll be able to tie my own shoes again." And one day when I could barely lift my head from the pillow, he sat on the bed beside me and asked, "Do you remember how we used to dance? Right here, in this room with the rain outside? I think it's time for another waltz." I didn't answer. I couldn't. But I looked at him. His face was as weathered as mine. His hair was graying, and his hands shook more often than they used to. But his eyes were still here. And that look in his eyes, the one that said, "I'm not leaving you," it made something stir inside of me. I wasn't sure if I could get up, not sure if my legs would hold me, but I reached out. He didn't hesitate. He took my hand and helped me to my feet. We stood there in the center of the room, our hands touching, me leaning on him like I always had. And then we began to move, slowly at first like we were both unsure, but with every step, the rhythm came back. Not perfectly, not the way we used to, but it didn't matter. Because we were moving, we were breathing, and we were together. That was the moment I realized I wasn't fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for him, for us. Because if I could fight through the fog just to dance with him again, then maybe I could find my way back to everything else. Each day became a new rehearsal. At first, I could only take a few steps. The pain still held me, like chains wrapped around my body. But the more we danced, the more I remembered. The rhythm, the feel of his hands on my waist, the way his feet moved, slow and steady, guiding me forward. I wasn't sure how we'd make it, how long it would take before my legs were strong enough. But each morning, he would help me to my feet, and we would start again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We counted the steps, not out of necessity, but out of comfort. It became something sacred between us, a simple prayer we spoke through movement. The room felt different as we danced, lighter, more alive. I could feel my body shifting, changing, not just physically, but in the way I saw the world again. I began to remember things I hadn't thought about in years. The sound of birds in the garden, the smell of his old leather jacket, the way we would sit on the porch at sunset, his arm around my shoulders. Every time we moved together, I felt the fog lifting a little more. Not completely, of course, but enough for me to see the light creeping back into the corners of my life. And one day when we danced in the kitchen again, I realized something. I wasn't fighting against the darkness anymore. I was fighting to stay in the light, to keep dancing with him, to keep making memories that would fill up the time we had left. He never let me fall. Even when my legs trembled, even when I faltered in the middle of a step, he held me steady. And I realized that was the secret to it all. It wasn't the perfect dance, it wasn't the grand moments, it was the small, constant movement, the belief that no matter what, we would keep going. We didn't need to reach perfection, we just needed to keep taking the next step together. That was the vow I made to him. And it was the vow that kept me alive, not just to survive, but to live. Because every time we danced, I remembered why I was still here. And every time I took a step with him, I remembered why I would never stop fighting. I used to think that life at some point just stops, that you reach a certain age, a certain threshold, and the world starts fading. It's like waiting for the sunset, knowing that it's time for everything to go dark. But I was wrong. Life doesn't stop. Not as long as there's a step left to take. Not as long as there's still someone to dance with. I remember the first time we danced again. Not in the kitchen, not in the living room, but outside on the porch. The world still, the stars watching above us. I had come so far from that hospital bed, so far from the moments where I thought I'd lost everything, my body, my strength, my will. But now there was something else. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was living. Every morning we woke up side by side, and every day we fought together, step by step. It wasn't always graceful, it wasn't always easy, but we kept going. And when the fog started to clear in my mind, I realized he had always been right here, waiting for me to find my way back. Not to the woman I was before, not to the life we once had, but to the woman I had become, the woman who could laugh again, who could dance with him, who could love him without hesitation. And when I look back at what we've built, I don't see just a house. I see two hearts still beating, still fighting, still believing in each other. We've learned that there's no final destination, no end to the road. There's just the next step, and the one after that, and the one after that. I don't know how much longer I have. None of us do. But I know this. I will spend whatever time I have left dancing with him, in the kitchen, on the porch, under the stars, wherever we can. Because that's what life is. It's not the perfect waltz. It's the imperfect, beautiful steps taken together. And as long as he's here with me, I'll keep dancing. Some days I wake up and think about all the years we've had. Not the ones I lost in the fog, but the ones that still matter. The quiet mornings with him beside me. The nights we spent just holding hands. The way he always says, I love you. Not because I need to hear it, but because he needs to say it. And I realized something. The most important thing in life isn't about the destination. It isn't about the grand moments or the final bows. It's about every step we take together. Even the wobbly ones, even the ones that make us falter or slow down or question everything. It's about the dance, not the perfect one, but the one we keep coming back to, the one that keeps us moving, keeps us loving, keeps us breathing. So, if you're out there feeling like the music is fading, like the dance is over, like you've missed your chance, let me tell you this, you haven't. It's never too late to step back in, to reach for the hand that's still waiting for you, to look up into the stars and remember, you're still alive, you still have the rhythm. And maybe you'll falter, maybe you'll stumble, maybe the steps won't come easily, but you'll keep moving, and that's enough. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you to dance with the ones you love, stay with us. Subscribe for more stories like this. Like the video if you've ever danced through your own struggles, and leave the comment. Share your own song, your own step. Because no matter how late it seems, you're never too old to waltz again. And as long as you're breathing, there's always one more dance waiting.